How much does it really cost to buy a home in Spokane, including exactly how I get paid? If you're thinking about buying a home in Spokane, here's one question everyone has. What is this actually going to cost me? Not just the price of the house, but the fees, the surprises, and yes, how realtors get paid. I'm Billy with Deese Real Estate, and my goal here is pretty simple. No confusion, no gray areas, no awkward conversations later. Most buyer frustration doesn't come from prices. It comes from things not being explained clearly up front. So I want to walk through the buyer cost the same way I do with my clients, calmly, honestly, and in plain English. For the purposes of this video, I am going to assume a $400,000 purchase price. Since nearly everything in real estate is based off of the purchase price of the home, we'll use this number to demonstrate about what the cost would be. Obviously, the exact numbers can change based off of the purchase price and negotiations. Let's start with earnest money. This is a deposit that you put down in order to show the seller how serious you are about holding up your end of the contract. There is no rule, no law, or any custom when it comes to the earnest money amount. I typically advise my clients to shoot for about 1% of the purchase price in order for the seller to take your offer seriously. This money is deposited with the closer and is due normally 2 to 3 days after your offer is accepted. So in this instance, $400,000 I would advise about a $4,000 earnest money deposit. All right, next would be the down payment. So depending on the loan, most buyers in Spokane are putting down anywhere from 0% to 20%. So a few quick examples here. VA loan is typically going to be 0% down, FHA usually about 3.5%, and conventional can be anywhere from 3% to 20%. So bigger down isn't always better. This is real cash. So typically the bigger the down payment, the lower your interest rate will be. And that means a lower monthly payment. But putting less down can also help keep cash in your pocket for other expenses. So next up are going to be closing costs, and these usually run about 2 to maybe 4% of the purchase price. And that includes things like your loan fees, the appraisal, title and escrow, prepaid taxes and insurance. So on a $400,000 home, it can range anywhere from about $8,000 to about $16,000. So that's kind of lender dependent, but at least a little bit of a ballpark there. And that's separate from your down payment. So buyers often ask, will the seller pay my closing costs? And the real answer is sometimes yes and sometimes no. It really depends on the seller and your offer. Remember, those costs come out of the seller's proceeds at closing. So a full price offer asking for closing costs isn't really viewed as a full price offer to the seller. So there's no free money, right? It's all really just math and strategy. So most buyers should budget $500 to $1,000 for inspections. So skipping inspections might save money up front, but it's one of the most expensive shortcuts I see people take. The inspection will help you know what you are buying, any current or future issues with the property, and it can help you decide whether to move forward with the purchase, ask the seller for repairs or concessions, and help you plan and budget for future repairs. So another cost that people don't always really talk about or bring up would be the appraisal gap. So if the home appraises lower than the purchase price, the lender doesn't cover the difference. If the appraisal comes in low, we have basically three options. You, as the buyer, can make up the difference in cash. The seller can lower the price to match the appraisal. And if neither one of you are really willing to budge on that, then the deal just dies. Then there's the real life stuff. Moving, utilities, furniture, tools, lawn equipment, snow gear, especially if this is your first home. I don't want to scare you, but it is a real cost that people don't always consider. And I've seen different things here. Most I've seen, and I kind of agree with, is about 1% of the purchase price as a kind of a ballpark. So $400,000 house, about $4,000 a year. So now let's talk about how I get paid, clearly and directly. In Washington, I am legally required to have a buyer service agreement signed before I even show a house. And that agreement spells out my role, your representation, and how I get paid. So I almost always charge 3% on the buy side. There is no law, no rule, no custom that requires a seller to pay my commission. Technically, what I get paid is determined by us before we ever write an offer. You are technically the one paying me. Now, that said, most sellers are willing to pay the buyer's agent's commission out of their proceeds at closing. And that's how, honestly, most transactions are structured. But if we agree on 3% and the seller's only offering 2.5%, I'm just going to be honest with you, there's absolutely no way I'm letting 0.5% keep you from getting the home that you want. I will always negotiate my fee with the seller. I mean, I do need to get paid for my work, but you getting into a home is way more important. What matters isn't just the percentage. It's whether your agent understands the market, protects you, contractually negotiates hard, and keeps small issues from becoming big problems. If someone can't clearly explain how they get paid and what they are doing to earn that money, that's a much bigger red flag than the fee itself. So, when buyers ask me, how much do I really need to buy a home? The honest answer is, it depends. But it shouldn't be a complete mystery. So, my job is to make sure you understand the numbers before you fall in love with a house. If this helped clear things up, good. That was the point. Buying a home is a big decision. You deserve straight answers. Whether you work with me or not, I hope you go into the process more informed and more confident.